Nice launch trajectory and countdown net. Pad is clear.
10, 9, 8.
Launch auto sequence has
7,
started.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Go for launch.
Vehicle is supersonic. Stage separation confirmed. Dragon, separation confirmed. Stage 1 is transonic. Landing legs have deployed. And Falcon 9 has landed.
You're looking at a live view of the Falcon 9 set to lift off at 12:24 p.m. Eastern Time from Space Launch Complex 40 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida. My name is Yomezo, and I'm joining you from the opposite coast here at SpaceX's headquarters in Hawthorne, California. Today we're launching SpaceX's Transporter 4 mission, our 4th dedicated small-sat rideshare program launch and 12th launch of 2022. On this flight are 40 spacecraft, including CubeSats, microsats, picosats, non-deploying hosted payloads, and an orbital transfer vehicle carrying spacecraft to be deployed at a later time. There will be a total of 20 deployments today, which will begin around the T plus 15-minute mark and last for approximately 73 minutes. Due to the lack of ground station coverage at times, we expect only a handful of our deployments will be visible today. However, we do expect to have telemetry and hear audio confirmation over the nets when in range of ground stations. To see a full list of today's deployments, head over to SpaceX.com. And with liftoff in about T-minus 7.5 minutes from now, let's take a moment to learn about the Falcon 9 rocket on your screen. Now, to give you a sense of scale, the rocket supporting today's launch stands about 20 meters taller than the Arc de Triomphe in Paris, France. It's named after the Millennium Falcon in Star Wars and gets the number 9 after the number of Merlin 1D engines at the base of the rocket. Now,
Engine chill has started.
What you can see in that foggy view on your screen are the 4 key parts that make up the rocket. The first is the first and second stage, as well as the inner stage in between, as well as the fairing at the very top of the rocket. Now, the first stage is the bottom 2/3 of the vehicle that you can barely make out there, and that's what we refer to as the booster. Those 9 Merlin engines do the bulk of the work to get Falcon 9 off the ground and up to the thinner parts of the Earth's atmosphere. For today's mission, it will be flying a southern trajectory along Florida's eastern coast, which may make it flight visible from the ground there. At about 2.5 minutes into flight, it will separate and make its way back down to
RP1 load complete.
Back down to Earth. We did just finish stage 1 fuel loading. And again, the first and second stages will separate, with the first stage targeting a landing back on our drone ship. Just read the instructions. Now, for those of you keeping track, today's mission does mark the 7th flight for this particular booster. And on top of the first stage is the black carbon fiber inner stage, which connects the 2 stages and houses the pneumatic pushers that allow the first and second stage to separate during flight. Then on top of the inner stage is the second stage, which will take the 40 spacecraft to their eventual destination in orbit. You may want to watch the velocity gauge that'll show up on the bottom left of your screen to see how fast we're going when stage 1 separates, and then how fast when we shut down stage 2. You'll see that stage 2 actually contributes more velocity than the first stage. Now, right now, the spacecraft are enclosed inside the large nose cone at the top of the rocket. This is called the fairing. The fairing's job is to protect the payload inside until the vehicle is outside the Earth's atmosphere, at which point the fairing halves will separate to expose the satellites to space. Now, today we're flying a new fairing, which you might be able to tell as it's much cleaner
for a strong back retract
than the sooty first stage, which has flown many times before. We are currently just about T-minus 4.5 minutes from liftoff. The vehicle is healthy and we're currently working, no issues. You may have heard that we finished stage 1 and stage 2 RP1 loading, and stage 1 liquid oxygen loading will finish a little over a minute from now at T-minus 3
Strong
minutes.
back retract has started.
Heard the call out that the strong back has begun retraction of the transporter erector. You can see those clamp arms below the fairing opening there to allow the transporter erector strong back to pull slightly away from the Falcon 9. Now again, the transporter erector is the structure that provides liquids, gases, electrical connections to the second stage, as well as air conditioning to the payload fairing. You might be able to hear the pops and hissing sounds, and that is from propellant loading as well as the launch mount and strong back that the propellant is going through. You can see that strong back slowly reclining there from the Falcon 9. As a reminder, you're watching the webcast for Transporter 4, which is our 4th dedicated rideshare mission to date. The payloads continue to look healthy. The Falcon 9 team is tracking no issues on the rocket. We should be finishing stage 1 liquid oxygen.
Stage 1 LOX load complete.
There it is. We just finished stage 1 liquid oxygen loading. And in about a minute here, the stage 2 liquid oxygen should wrap up as well. We do load liquid oxygen in as late as possible so we can keep it as cold as possible so we can load more of it into the booster. You might be able to hear that it is a busy morning here on the factory floor here in Hawthorne, California. We're about 10 seconds from the end of stage 2 liquid oxygen loading.
Stage 2 LOX load complete.
There's the call out for finishing up liquid oxygen loading. Those white clouds that you see coming from the booster are venting from the transporter erector liquid oxygen line. They're on your right. That's totally normal and expected. In about 30 seconds here at T-minus 1 minute.
Gas closeouts have started.
At T-minus 1 minute, Falcon 9 will be in startup. The first and second stages will begin pressurizing for launch, and the internal flight computers will have taken control of the countdown.
Falcon 9 is in startup.
Falcon 9, Transporter 4, LD is go for launch.
LD has given that final go for launch. All systems are go. Let's watch Falcon 9 liftoff.
T-minus 30 seconds. T-minus 15 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Mission is liftoff of Transporter 4. Pitching downrange. Stage 1 chamber pressure is nominal.
We're at T plus 40 seconds. Awesome views from Falcon 9 punching through the clouds. Falcon 9 has cleared the tower, and we're
Power
currently
and telemetry nominal.
throttling down in preparation for max Q at T plus 1 minute and 12 seconds. This is where the stage will experience the maximum aerodynamic pressure.
Max Q.
There's max Q. Everything is looking good with stage 1 trajectory. Beautiful view of the clouds in the background there. In just about a minute, we will have 3 events coming up in pretty quick succession. There's MECO, which is main engine cutoff, stage separation, which is when the first and second stages separate, and SES1, where that single MVAC engine on the second stage will ignite, carrying...
Start of MVAC engine chill.
You heard the call out for the start of that MVAC engine chill prior, getting ready for that second engine startup. Really cool plumes from Falcon 9. We're under 30 seconds to main engine cutoff.
Main engine cutoff. Stage separation confirmed. MVAC ignition.
There you heard and saw those 3 events happen back-to-back: main engine cutoff, stage separation, and second engine startup 1. You can see those grid fins deploying on the first stage there. In just a few seconds, we should have
Fairing separation confirmed.
There's that confirmation of fairing separation. You can see the 2 fairing halves have separated from the vehicle, exposing the 40 spacecraft to the vacuum of space. Now, today's mission marks the first flight for both of those fairing halves, and we will be attempting to recover those from the water once they fall back down to Earth. Now, we're currently in our first of 3 MVAC burns. Now, this first burn should last until about T plus 10 minutes. And the next milestones will be the first stage booster's entry burn. So Falcon 9 executes an entry burn to slow itself down before hitting the denser parts of the Earth's atmosphere. Without this entry burn, relying on just the atmosphere to slow down Falcon 9 would put unnecessary strain on the rocket's structure.
Vehicle is following a nominal trajectory.
The Transporter 4 mission, again, is SpaceX's 4th dedicated small-sat rideshare program mission and the 12th mission of 2022. SpaceX is targeting at least 3 dedicated rideshare flights to sun-synchronous orbit per year, and we also offer opportunities to ride to orbit on our Starlink missions, which launch every couple weeks or so. Small sats can ride to space on SpaceX's Falcon 9, Falcon Heavy, as well as Starship in the not-too-distant future. You can see on those live views from the first stage on your left that Falcon 9 is equipped with 4 hypersonic grid fins positioned near the top of the first stage, and stage 1 is using these grid fins for steering as it makes its way back down to Earth. Second stage is looking good on the right there in the middle of its first burn, the first of 3 burns. Those white puffs of gas that you may occasionally see from this first stage are from the attitude control system, and those are nitrogen gas. That's nitrogen gas that's coming out and helps with attitude control of the first stage as it makes its way back down to Earth.
Stage 2 FTS is safe.
We're about 3 minutes from the start of our stage 1 entry burn. Again, this is a 3-engine burn, and there are 3 engines in a row on the first stage, which will light up to slow the vehicle down as it enters the upper parts of the Earth's atmosphere.
Vehicle continues to follow a nominal trajectory.
If you are just joining us, we did have a successful liftoff of the Transporter 4 mission, which is SpaceX's 4th dedicated small-sat rideshare mission and 12th mission of 2022. On your screen are live views from the first and second stage, with the first stage making its way back down towards the Atlantic Ocean to land on our drone ship, Just Read the Instructions, and the second stage on your right in the first of 3 planned MVAC burns. We're about 2 minutes from the start of that stage 1 entry burn, which is about a 20-second burn that slows that first stage down as it enters the Earth's atmosphere.
Acquisition signal, Bermuda.
Now for today's mission, the stage 1 landing burn will follow under a minute after the end of our stage 1 entry burn. And that'll land the first stage on our drone ship, Just Read the Instructions. And to put the deceleration of the landing burn into perspective, around 60 minutes or 60 seconds away from landing, the first stage is moving about 2,000 miles per hour. Then in less than a minute, we'll rapidly reduce speed in order to prep for landing, and the first stage slows down to just about 87 miles per hour when the landing legs deploy just prior to landing. The Falcon 9 first stage is equipped with 4 landing legs made out of carbon fiber with aluminum honeycomb, and they're placed symmetrically around the base of the rocket, and they'll deploy just prior to landing. We're under 30 seconds to the start of that stage 1 entry burn. It's a really cool view of the Atlantic Ocean from the first stage on your left.
Stage 1 entry burn startup.
Here's the start of the stage 1 entry burn.
Stage 1 entry burn shut down.
Did have a successful stage 1 entry burn. And as I mentioned earlier, we will be attempting to recover
Stage 1 FTS received.
this booster for the 7th time today on our drone ship, Just Read the Instructions.
Stage 1 transonic.
The first stage has just 1 more burn left.
Terminal guidance.
That's the landing burn. We'll be starting here in just a few seconds. And at the same time, the second engine, the MVAC, will actually shut off at the same time as the start of that landing burn.
Stage 1 landing burn.
Seco 1.
There's second engine cutoff 1, and you heard that we did start our stage 1 landing burn. This is about a 20-second burn of the single
Nominal
engine.
orbit insertion.
As you can see, we did have a successful landing of our first stage, as well as a confirmation of a nominal second stage orbit in the middle there. Now coming up in about 5 minutes, we are expecting the start of the deployment sequence. There will be 20 deployments of 40 spacecraft, which will occur over a 73-minute period of time. Now this includes CubeSats, microsats, picosats, non-deploying hosted payloads, and an orbital transfer vehicle carrying spacecraft to be deployed at a later time. Now, as I mentioned at the start of the webcast, due to the lack of the ground station coverage, at times we expect only a handful of our deployments will be visible today. However, we do expect to have telemetry and hear audio confirmation over the nets when in range of ground stations. Now again, to see the full list of deployments for all 40 satellites on today's mission, head over to SpaceX.com. With that said, the first 3 payload deployments are going to happen during a blackout period where we will lose live camera views and telemetry. There is a possible blackout period when we plan to relight the MVAC engine on the second stage for its second burn at about T plus 28 minutes into flight. Because all critical data is stored and forwarded, we will confirm deployment of the first 3 payloads once we regain ground station coverage in the Maldives around the T plus 57-minute mark. For now, we're going to take a short break during this blackout period, and we'll leave you with the animation of where we are during this time. If we are able to regain coverage for the relight of our second stage engine, we will come back with live views and confirm on screen. But if not, we'll see you back here in about 40 minutes.
And expected loss of signal, Cape.
MVAC ignition. And MVAC shutdown. Nominal orbit insertion.
Welcome back to the Transporter 4 mission, our fourth dedicated rideshare mission. Falcon 9 lifted off at 12:24 p.m. Eastern Time from Cape Canaveral Space Force Station, had a successful stage separation, landed our first stage on Just Read the Instructions, and as you may have seen in the video there, we were able to get confirmation of a successful second burn of our MVAC engine, along with a good orbit confirmation. We have 40 spacecraft on board today's mission, spanning across 20 deployments. While we were during a blackout period, we were able to confirm our first 3 deployments a little bit earlier than expected. Our first payload, which was situated at the very top of the stack, is an Earth observation satellite named ENMAP, which is short for Environmental Mapping and Analysis Program. It's the first hyperspectral satellite developed and built in Germany on behalf of the German Space Agency. By recording a spectral fingerprint of the objects under interest over a continuous spectrum of the sunlight reflected from the Earth, this technology offers new possibilities for rendering the invisible visible, providing identification of minerals or pollutants in a certain area, types of vegetation in selected areas, and how polluted a body of water may be. Again, we did confirm our first 3 deployments of the payloads. Up next, we are waiting on the relight of our second stage engine for its final burn at about T+1 hour and 8 minutes. We'll see you back here just before that to show that live. For the next 10 minutes or so, enjoy the space tunes and the intermittent views from our stages and our second stage, and we'll see you back soon.
toggle the line. The technology caught up to them.
Acquisition signal, Maldives. Acquisition signal, Bangalore.
MVAC engine chiller started.
Welcome back to Transporter 4. If you've been following along so far, we had a nominal mission so far, and
MVAC engine shut down.
And we just had that quick last third burn, which was only about 1 second long. We are waiting for confirmation of that good orbit from SES-3 and SECO-3.
Nominal orbit insertion.
There's the confirmation of a good orbit there. Now, much like our first 3 deployments, our next 9 deployments are also going to happen during a blackout period, which means we lose camera views and telemetry. But to see the full list of deployments, head over to SpaceX.com. And while we wait to regain access to ground station coverage in a few minutes, sit back and follow along with our animation that shows you where we are in the mission. And we'll be back here at T+1 hour and 18 minutes.
And acquisition of signal, Dubai. And expected loss of signal, Maldives. Expected loss of signal, Bangalore. And expected loss of signal, Dubai.
to the webcast for Transporter 4, SpaceX's fourth dedicated small-sat rideshare program mission. We had a successful liftoff at 12:24 p.m. Eastern Time from Space Launch Complex 40 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida. As I mentioned, this is our fourth dedicated rideshare mission. Our goal with these rideshare flights is to provide small satellite operators with the competitive pricing, increased flight opportunities, and flexibility. These dedicated rideshare flights to sun-synchronous orbit will occur around 3 times a year, providing regular access to orbit. Additionally, we also offer opportunities for a ride to orbit on our Starlink missions, which launch every couple weeks or so. So we have 40 spacecraft on board today's mission, spanning across 20 deployments. That includes CubeSats, microsats, picosats, non-deploying hosted payloads, and an orbital transfer vehicle carrying spacecraft to be deployed at a later time. So far, we've had 3 confirmed separation events and are currently waiting to hear the call-outs for another 9, which occurred during a blackout period with no access to ground station coverage. Now again, to see a full list of all deployments, head over to SpaceX.com. Now let's listen in to hear the confirmation of those 9 deployments here shortly. Now we should get that confirmation.
9 payload separations confirmed.
There, we just got that confirmation of
Acquisition signals forward.
of 9 confirmed payload separations and a brief glimpse from that Falcon second stage. That confirms the second set of deployments. So far, we've had 12 out of 20 successful deployments. And in just under a minute, we are about to start our last batch of 8 deployments. So over the next few minutes or so, we are expecting to hear the call-outs for the remaining 8 deployments. It's also worth mentioning that because many of the spacecraft are being deployed in groups, we may not be able to confirm every deployment in real time, but you should hear most of the deployments called out by the operators on console. But for any we don't hear,
25 separation confirmed.
there's that first one. But if there's any you don't hear in real time, we'll try to provide updates by the close of the webcast. Let's listen in.
NewSat 26 separation confirmed.
Hawk 4C, separation confirmed. Hawk 4B, separation confirmed. Hawk 4A, separation confirmed.
Acquisition of the signal, Thule.
MP42, separation confirmed. Link, separation confirmed. SCV-005, Almighty Alexius, separation confirmed.
And with that, that concludes our deployment sequence. We were able to confirm all 20 deployments today. Falcon 9 really wasn't fooling around. And with that, we would like to thank all of our rideshare customers for their support on today's mission. For a full list of the deployments today, head over to SpaceX.com. We would also like to thank the United States Air Force for range support, as well as the Federal Aviation Administration for licensing. Continue to follow us on SpaceX.com for future missions and milestones, as well as Twitter and Instagram. And if you're excited about what you've seen today and want to join our team, visit SpaceX.com/careers to learn more about working here at SpaceX. Thank you to all of our viewers for your continued support, and have a great rest of your day.